Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, hey, my name is Brittany and I talk all things beauty here on my channel. And for today's video, I wanted to go over a whole bunch of palettes that are perfect for the springtime. So if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like spring makeup, then please stick around for today's video. This video was supposed to go up a few days ago, but the kiddos have been sick and it's just been like not the time to film, edit, and do all the things. So I finally have a chance to sit down and talk about some eyeshadow palettes with you. This is like no way, shape, or form to make you feel pressure to buy all these palettes. This is a video maybe take a second, think, shop your stash, and I don't know, feel some inspiration when it comes to some spring palettes. So some of these are new, some of them are older, all different price ranges. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to start off with some of the newer palettes and then I'll just kind of like work my way through all of them. Okay, so first I wanted to talk about Odin's Eye. They just released these palettes. I believe Flora's Story is sold out. There will be a restock, but these to me, they're just so fun and perfect for the spring. Obviously, that's what this video is about, but I love this so much. If you're a neutral lover and you just want a little bit of some soft tones in your life, this is just perfect, man. And this multi-chrome, every time I look at this palette or use it, I have to play it with that shadow. It's so beautiful. And this one is Sea Talk palette. This is more of like summery to me, but it still is perfect for spring. So if you purchase this, pull it out, use it for the spring as well, because these palettes are so good. Sometimes it's really easy to like see a palette, buy it, love it, swatch it, use it once or twice, and then like put it in your collection and then kind of forget about it. So definitely, I'm not saying you can only wear these palettes during the spring, but just kind of, look through your collection and maybe feel inspired again. Okay, so this is the Bard palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. And yes, this is fall, but also it's kind of springy in my opinion with like the yellow, the green, this orange, these shimmers. It's just a spring palette. It's an all year round palette for me, but definitely for the spring, it's just so fun and bright and beautiful. And y'all know Fantasy Cosmetica is one of my favorite indie brands period, not just indie, but in general, favorite brands. Such a good palette and so fun and bright for springtime. Let's see. Oh yeah, I want to mention this new palette from Too Faced Cosmetics. I'm just so excited. I did not know how this was going to go. I knew the color story excited me, but the palette formulation is really good. Yes, it's a steep price, but if you like Too Faced, then just know that this formula is really nice. I have been wearing it all week. It's on my eyes today. Definitely not a spring look, but we just left the doctor, so I just did a very neutral look just to get out of the house. But this is just such an easy palette for me and definitely some fun pops in here. I love this palette. I cannot. Every look I create with it, it's a different look and it's beautiful. I like how it's neutral, or you can dress it up, play with color, be very bold and bright with the shimmers. This is a good one and it smells nice. And I have to admit, y'all, the Too Faced, the Sweet Peach palette was on sale for $20. I got it. I missed that palette in my collection. I know it's like an outdated formulation, but for $20, and I feel like it's always on sale, so I'm just kind of nervous that they're going to discontinue it. My daughter has my older one, so I already gave that one to her, but I want that back in my collection, so that one is going to come into my collection. It was on sale and I really wanted it because I fell in love with this Too Faced palette. So I'm really excited, but keep in mind, if you feel pressured to buy this new palette, keep in mind that Too Faced runs sales all the time, so maybe hold off and you can get it for a discounted price. Okay, so this one right here from What's Up Beauty, I feel like this brand is not talked about enough. This palette is perfect for spring and it's not too poppy and like bold and bright. You can still tone it down or dress it up. I love this one so much. The shimmers are so sparkly. I think that the formulation with the mattes are so easily they're just an easy formula to work with, or like I said, you can definitely build it and make it pop. But this is just, I don't know, for a neutral girl right here and you want a little bit of color in your life, it's a good one. I also love the packaging. It's so beautiful. I can't wait to see What's Up Beauty also, like, what they continue to release, because this is a brand that's definitely on my radar, because this formula, I really like it. But this green right here and like the yellows, the pinks, purples, it's perfect for spring. Okay, let's see. I have a whole bunch of palettes in front of me. So let's kind of switch it up and talk about a few cheaper like drugstore options. So this is the Getting Fresh palette from Colourpop. This is a big daddy right here. Like, this is huge. I do not like large palettes. This is an exception because it's so beautiful. Now, I will say this isn't for like the color lover, just because as you can see, this palette doesn't go too deep and it's pretty neutral with some fun pops. But the neons in here, like these greens, if you are looking for a neon green, this is not going to please you. These are very subtle, but some of these like grassy greens, you can build them up. But for me, I actually love popping into this for some color. This shade right here, it actually broke and I repressed a different indie shimmer. So this palette is, or not this palette, this eyeshadow right here, ignore that because that's not in the palette. It was like a pretty duochrome green, the best I remember, but it broke. But anyways, this is perfect for some neutrals, some pops of pinks and greens. This palette is perfect for spring. I remember last year during this time, this was my go-to palette, and I definitely, like, I have all my palettes in a basket. That way I can kind of rotate them and use them because they're perfect for this time of the year. Another Colourpop one. This one is actually discontinued, I believe. This is the Tinkerbell palette. I'm just saying, if you have it in your collection, get it out. Like, are you kidding me? You have to. Definitely show this one some love. I know I'm going to have it in my basket ready to go. Another super affordable but perfect formulation. This is the Muse palette from Cosmic Brushes. This palette right here has stolen the show, stolen my heart. It's like a game changer. This one, oh, the purples and pinks and greens, like for spring, and you get this fun mustardy yellow. Are you kidding me? This, honestly, out of all the palettes, if you're looking for a good spring palette to enter your collection for a decent price point, I would recommend this one to you. It's amazing. It's a high-end formulation at a drugstore price point. It is so, so good. And if you use my friend's code ME10, you can save some money. So, pretty awesome there. But definitely, like, this is one, before I got the Too Faced palette, I was using this one constantly. So definitely a good one to definitely try out that brand. I'm not saying you have to buy that one. They have some beautiful palettes in like their range. So just whatever color story speaks to you, you're not going to be disappointed because the brand, it's definitely worth the hype, I will say. Let's see. Next, I want to mention this one from, Simply Posh Cosmetics. This is the Fairy Tale Fairies palette. They run sales all the time, so definitely follow them on Instagram because you can always almost get these on sale. But this formula is so, so good. The mattes in here are beautiful. I love how it goes super light to super deep. And these are like pastels, but this row right here is a game changer because you can really add some depth, even almost make it a little grungy with some of these greens. Love it so, so much. And these shimmers, guys, they're so beautiful. And there's so many like shifty shades with some sparkles. This was my first palette I ever tried from the brand, and I fell head over heels. Definitely an underrated brand. Check out Simply Posh Cosmetics because they have a really good formula. And I like how these are magnetic and you can take them out and rearrange. It's just so fun to kind of switch up your palettes. Let's talk about some more indie brands before we jump into some others. This one from Gourmand Girls. This is the Ethereal palette. This is an all shimmer palette typically. Yeah, I think this is the only all shimmer palette I have in my collection because I just don't reach for them. But this one I make an exception for. It's beautiful, sparkly, shifty. Y'all know the drill. Y'all know what I love, and this one did not disappoint. It's so, so good. You know, the Spooked palette, this is like that same good, excellent quality if you're familiar with that. These are just so special. I love them. With the fun blues and the greens and the oranges, yellows. There's just something for everyone in this palette. It's stunning and perfect for spring. And next I wanted to mention, so the Ethereal palette, I've always mix it with this one. This is from Natasha Denona. This is a trio chrome palette. This is like the big daddy. It's super expensive, but I got this on sale during Black Friday. Obviously for this palette, the highlight are the mattes in here. They're such a unique tone. The shimmers are fine, but they're not like all that. So that's why I love mixing the Ethereal palette with this one because it's so fun. And I just love all the looks I can create. So definitely, like, I'm not saying run out and buy it, but if you have it, I know it's a little bit older, pull it out and show it some love, because you're going to be surprised just how like spring-esque you can get some of those looks. Another one from Natasha, I'll just finish up some of her palettes while I've already mentioned it. This is the Zendo palette. Not everyone's favorite, but I personally love it. It's nothing special as far as the shimmers go, but the mattes are just lovely. And I don't know, I just like the cools with the warms. To me, this is a spring palette, and it's one of my favorites in my collection from her. Now, let's talk about one that I'm not so in love with, but I wanted to mention in case you have it. I've been reaching for this. I used this twice, I think, was it last week or the week before? It's like I got mom brain and pregnancy brain all at the same time, and like, I don't know what day it is. I've been using this, and I'm just like, I like it, but I'm not like in love with it. But I think if you're a neutral lover and you want some soft tones, then you would like this. This is cool tone, so not too springy, but I think you could get away with some of these soft greens. I typically reach for this a lot during the winter because it's very cool tone, but it's still fun to mix and match with your palettes, and I just wanted to mention this because I think it's like a soft spring palette, and the formula is really nice. Okay, so those are some of the Natasha Denona palettes that I wanted to mention. Next, let's talk about Nomad Cosmetics. So I have two to mention from them. This is my favorite as far as like spring palettes. This is the Paradise Islands palette. Look, need I say more? Like spring and summer, yeah, this is the palette to take. It's amazing, I'll just say that. I cannot, all these bright tones. I'm like a sucker for this top row and mixing and matching. It's just such an amazing palette, and they are actually launching, I think at the end of March, a new palette, and I'm so excited to see because they do color so well. It's like color sometimes can intimidate me, but they have such an easy formula, it kind of like helps it, you know. So this one right here is the Provence palette. It's not as springy, but I wanted to mention it because it kind of is, you know. It's like a soft, more toned down, colorful palette, if you will, versus the Paradise Islands, which that is like super bold and vibrant, you know. This is a little bit more subtle, but you can definitely make it bold, especially with some of these deeper shades. But I really enjoy it, and I wanted to mention it. This is my favorite shade. It's like a duochrome yellow, green, gold. It's so pretty. Anyways, I definitely wanted to mention that. And also the embossment, and right here, this little flower. If I need a yellow palette, I'm going to reach for this and do like a monochromatic look using that row. That's my go-to yellow. If you're curious, whenever I want like a really bright yellow. Okay, I have a few more to talk about. Stick with me. This is from Odin's Eye, the Soul Mane 2. This recently restocked. And perfect timing because the spring palette of my collection, I tell you, like, are you kidding me? It is everything. I don't even reach for blues that often, but this palette makes me want to reach for blues, kind of like the Sea Talk palette. Odin's Eye does colors like so well. Yes, I love neutrals, but this brand makes me jump out of my comfort zone, and I love all the looks that I create, even though sometimes they may be a little bit out of my comfort zone. It still looks stunning, so definitely, if you haven't tried Odin's Eye, definitely give them a go whenever you can, because it's definitely, like, they're a really good brand, I will say. Because at first, it's a different formula as far as shimmers go. They're very thin, but they pack a punch, like, once you get them on the eye. It's a nice brand. Sydney Grace Tiny Marvels palette. All year round palette, but to me, like with the packaging and the color story, this is the perfect spring palette for the neutral lover. Out of all of them, this and the What's Up Beauty palette, I would recommend if you like neutrals and you want color, but you don't want super bright, intense tones. You want more subtle, but with, you know, the versatility where you can make them pop. I love this one so, so much. An amazing formula. Need I say more? It's so good, and it's so special. Like, look at this packaging. Like, are you kidding me? If you have it, pull it out for spring. Get you a little organizer and get you some spring palettes in there and just kind of rotate them, and then you'll feel inspired to play with some more makeup, because sometimes, like this week, it's kind of an exception, but I've been stuck using the same palette, and I need to like break away from the Too Faced palette and start showing my spring palettes some love. I have two to mention from Adept Cosmetics. So the Heather Austin palette and the Anhydrous palette. So Heather Austin, y'all know I love this palette. This is perfect for year round, but the colors in here, just, they're so special, sparkles, shifty. This is the palette that made me fall in love with the brand. And I'm telling you, if you have it, use it because it's perfect for spraying the greens and the blues. This orange right here, but it's also like yellowy gold. It's so shifty and fun. The purples, I love it. It's my favorite palette, obviously, for good reason. And then the Ninhydrin, like, okay, if you're a neutral lover, maybe get the Heather Austin because of the shade Atlas. Like, I just feel like you can get such a neutral look if you go in with this in a purple or this in the orange. Or obviously you can mix and match and make it colorful. Well, if you just want color, go for an Ninhydrin because this is like a showstopper palette. Intense, bright, just foiled, intense shades that will make your color loving heart so happy. And these blues in here, like I said, I'm not super into blues, but this palette, almost every time I want to reach for these blues because they are breathtakingly beautiful. And that is it, guys. I'm sure I have so many more, like Pat McGrath Utopian Dream. I'm like looking at it right now. There's so many I could mention, but these are just some of the ones that I have in my basket to rotate. But that's going to do it for today's video. Don't forget to let me know what is your favorite palette for the springtime. That's going to do it wherever you are in the world. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you are healthy, happy, and safe. Stay beautiful. Bye, guys.